Excuse me. It is very shaky because I'm zoomed in. I'm at Paducah, Kentucky rest area. I don't know if that looks like it, but that's close to 50,000 pounds of steel on the back of my truck. It's 49,680 pounds, I think. So we'll go up there and take a look. It is a, sorry, I have to learn to balance my camera while I walk. Initially when I got my load assignment, it was I needed to tarp the load. So after they loaded me, they told me you don't have to tarp this load, but my work assignment said I did. So there was a lot of clarification going on, because the only way I can not tarp a load is if my company says that, basically my company tells me to tarp when a tarp job's been paid for, the way I understand it. And in order to get out of tarping, the company where I pick up, the shipper, has to sign on the documents, no tarp required, or no tarp, and they basically have to sign it saying, yeah, we're the ones saying no tarp is required. So I'll come over here, I'll back away. There's a good side shot from, I think, over here. You can see, trying to watch where I'm walking here. So this kind of gives you a really decent perspective of, here I have a 48-foot long trailer with 50,000 pounds worth of steel. So when they initially loaded me, I went on their scale while I was empty. And then after they loaded me, they took me on the scale again, and I was over 80,000 pounds. So I just had to go right back into their loading area. They took off a few sheets, put me back on the scale. It's like, all right, you're good. So I'm pretty much maxed out. I went to even though they provided a scale, a lot of these shippers or receivers, places that do this type of shipping, they have scales, but it doesn't necessarily mean that their scales are regulated. I'm sure that many of them get them tested, but I still go to a CAT scale, because those are certified scales, and they're basically a legal document. They're willing to stand up in court for you to say, hey, our scales are accurate and all that stuff. So I went to a CAT scale anyway, and everything's good to go. Let's see, 79,600 and something pounds. So I'm about 400 pounds shy of being overweight, which is cool. I don't mind hauling 80,000 even. I had just fueled before I picked up, and I don't need to buy fuel again prior to delivering this, so I'm not worried about bringing on more weight. So let me kind of show you how the good thing about this load is it doesn't have a tarp on it, so you can see all the securement that I did. And it's kind of unique in a way, because in an effort not to damage the product, yet provide enough securement. Anyway, I'll explain it as I go. These are, thin strips of sheet steel, and in an effort to prevent damage by the down force that comes down on these, I try to get it as close to wherever they have their dunnage as possible, which is the reason for this mess here. Look, it may look odd, but if I were to put any of this securement in like an open area, I really risk doing damage to the product itself. Here I've run out of edge protectors because of, it's really due to this thing's fault. Because of that, I have a trip chain going across the back. Oh, you can't see it because this flopped over. I have not only this rubberized friction mat providing edge protection, but I've got steel edge protectors on each one of these corners for the chain to rest on as well, to press up against and typically with it being square I would only need one at the top, but since there's two different levels, the chain touches two different levels, and I've got two. I could have used one of those over here, so I would have had enough if it was not cattywampus there. And so I've got a trip chain on the rear, only required one in the back. I've got two in the front, and so I tried to get my strap, you know, I used every chain I had, and then I start using straps because I have to secure for the total weight of this product. And so with 8, 9, 10, I got 11, basically 11 securements, each able to secure up to 8,000 pounds worth of securement value, and that's totally different than working load limits, and I'm not going to get into all that technical mumbo jumbo. You can see some of my hookups are the standard hookup that I do. Then there's the secondary hookup. It's funny how it stretches out like this, because that's the link I'm aiming for when I hook this up. But sometimes it's the way how tight it is when you're working with this. You can't do it by hand, getting that bottom link. So sometimes it works out to where it's tighter, sometimes not. But anyway, so you can just kind of see how, I know some people say, hey, can you show us how that, I want to see the hookups and I want to see how this looks. Same thing in the front. Sometimes people use friction mats or coil edge protection. I've had really good success in just using, placing my edge protectors in a way that allows the chain to go across the edge protection and not touch, because I mean, obviously the reason we're using this is either to protect the product, or in this case protect the securement, because using a strap in this type of product, you really risk cutting it unless you use a edge protection that protects your securement. And here, this edge protection doesn't necessarily protect the chain. It's protecting the material it's connected to, because this is going to be used in some kind of manufacturing process, and the last thing you want to do is show up with edge damage and then being like, well, we can't use that particular piece. And so some may say, oh, well, you're just sacrificing the top sheet, but I mean, that's all money. And it's not mine, so I try to do what I can. So here's the opposite side. It's just like the the other side, except everything's secured up, chains and everything. But it does give you a good view of kind of how this looks. I will show up there tonight. They have parking, so I can unload first thing in the morning. And when I do my cross chains, because these serve as trip chains, and I do them as tight as I can, so it's already helping prevent forward and rearward movement. There, I'll balance my arm on my trailer, maybe that'll be more steady. Here, let's get on the other side so I can even get better lighting. See, I just am all over getting the best of these lighting conditions. So any questions, comments below? For anybody that's thinking about going to Maverick and put my name in as a referral, I do appreciate that. That's a thumbs up from me. If you want to give this video a thumbs up too, that's great. Subscribe if you want to see more of this stuff. If not, you can leave a thumbs down. I just ask that your comments be civilized. I don't really run into that kind of problem. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to get back on the road and head to southern Nashville, Tennessee. That's where this is delivering. Yep.